Hey guys, what's going on? It's Lance here again and bringing you another video and talking about 6 simple ways to maximize fat loss without dieting habits that are going to lead to gaining all the weight back again. So the thing of it is the very thing that you need to know before starting off is that 95% of weight loss programs and diets literally are failures. So there's a 95% failure rate, which means only 5% of diets and weight loss programs succeed. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't lose weight. What it means is that only 5% of the population who goes through a diet or a weight loss program will lose that weight and actually keep it off. And those numbers have not been getting better, unfortunately. So what I want to do is talk with you specifically today about 6 simple ways that are going to actually make sure that you're focusing on long-term fat loss and how to maintain this. So let's just say this, because the reason I want to go into this one step further is because so many people start taking on weight loss habits or diet habits that they've been told maybe in a book or through a trainer or what have you, that these are going to be what it takes to get weight off. And they do that, but they never really learn how to focus on what does that trainer do to keep himself in shape or herself in shape. That trainer is not doing the same things that he's having you do because he knows a greater, let's say he has a bigger bird's eye view of the little bit of things that you're doing and understands how it works. That's what I'm going to give you a little bit today so that you understand there are a couple things to keep focus on, and not all of the little fad dieting tricks as far as cutting out all sugars and doing all of this, dropping down to 1,200 calories. Those things are not going to be effective for long term. So these 6 here I have used for the last 16 years as a health coach and a fitness coach. So take them for what you will, but if you really will take these seriously, I promise you, you're going to notice an increase in fat loss, especially if you start looking for the end at the beginning. So here we go. Number 1 is if you want to burn, this is for somebody trying to burn more fat who's busy, who isn't trying to do, a 5 or 6 day a week, workout split where they're working out for an hour and training biceps and triceps together and so on and so forth. This is for the person that, doesn't want to live at the gym, but again, wants to be able to maximize fat loss. So I say that just because some people are going to go, well, I do this and it works. Yes, it's going to work. This is going to be for the most effective, like if we just the straightest path to fat loss, this is what we're doing. So, and again, not weight loss, because again, this will cause you to build muscle, but muscle leads to greater fat loss. So now we get in. Number 1, compound movements and compound exercises. This is a huge one. And this is the reason I just said what I said a minute ago, because if you are trying to build more muscle mass, your focus needs to be on what's called hypertrophy. Whereas if you're trying to focus on fat loss, you're gonna be focusing more on this here, compound movements and compound exercises. So hypertrophy, normally we begin to focus on isolation techniques where we're focusing on triceps one day or tris and bis, whatever you wanna do. And the compound movements and compound exercises, number 1, compound movements are going to be, instead of an isolated movement where you're only working the triceps in one joint, it's going to be a movement where you're working multiple joints or 2 or more joints. So for example, a bench press where I'm moving both the shoulder and the elbow joint, this here is going to be a compound movement, whereas a tricep pushdown is an isolation movement. That bench press, even though that's not what I would necessarily go for, I would rather you go for a push-up where you're using the core and you're actually using all those same muscles. I would rather you do that, but the point is that is a compound movement. Now, a compound exercise is where we actually combine 2 exercises together, a lunge and a curl, let's say a plank with a dumbbell kickback. Those sort of things are compound exercises, 2 or more exercises combined. Now, for bonus, put 2, instead of 2 isolation exercises together to make a compound exercise like a push-up, or let's say a lunge with a curl, then you could actually do combine two compound movements together. So you might do something like, for example, a bench over row, where you're working two joints, but also with a deadlift. Those are things where you're actually burning even more calories, or a squat with a shoulder press. So what we did was take two compound movements and added those in to make a compound movement, compound exercise. Yes, it's a lot to keep up with, but these are things that work. And I want you to use something that when you're thinking in your mind, like, is this really doing anything? Or wondering if you're getting somewhere, I want you to know, like, yeah, these are the things that work. Again, you can take my word for it, or you can try this out, or you can just kind of dismiss it. It's totally up to you. But again, in my 16 years of doing this, the amount of fat loss that I have helped people with is exponential. This will work, I promise. All right, number 2, incorporating legs and larger muscles into workouts more frequently. So what I mean by this is, again, rather than focusing on, tries and buys on a day. Now, again, I do that. That's what I do. But I am training for more hypertrophy and not specifically for fat loss ahead of it. I'm always looking for fat loss if I'm carrying a little bit, but again, I do that a little differently. In your situation, though, what you're going to want to do, though, is make sure that instead of working a day where you're only hitting 2 small muscle groups, it would be more advantageous to focus on the entire upper body that day, or the entire lower body. So for example, you might do, if you're doing 4 days in a week, if you've got 4 days to commit, then you could do upper, lower, skip on Wednesday to take a rest day, and then upper, lower. That would burn significantly more calories while actually utilizing more muscles in the same amount of time. So that is something that you want to think about. And the reason we use the larger muscle groups more frequently and combine more is because those larger muscle groups are going to be effective at burning more calories. Because again, it's going to take more blood flow, more oxygen, so on and so forth. And that causes your body to work harder. Again, caloric burn, because that's what we're doing. So the number 3, this is a huge one, guys. Know what's called your total daily energy expenditure, or TDEE. This is what is known as your maintenance calories. And when you know this, your maintenance calories are precisely, not to the letter, but precisely the amount of calories that your body requires to maintain its body weight based on your lifestyle. So when you know this rate at which you're burning calories, that what your body needs, when you create a deficit beneath that safely, you're going to be able to see consistent fat loss. If you don't do that, and you do what the masses do, where you immediately just, without checking data, recording anything, checking to see how many calories you're eating now, to see if what you think you eat is actually what you're eating, and you just jump right into something and slash your calories down to 12 or 1300, well, you're going to lose weight, and you're not going to be able to figure out what caused the weight loss. And when your metabolism drops and you don't know what to do, you're going to realize, I don't know where to go now, because I can't go lower calories than what I've already done. I can't cut more out. There's nowhere to go. This is why it's so crucial to really focus on the math and science, and not just the emotions of what so-and-so trainer said, because that's just what they do. There is real science that backs up why this works. For my clients, one of the things before they graduate our program, because it's a university, they have to be able to repeat the process that we put them through, meaning they need to know how to create their own calorie intake, to know how many they need to take, how many they should be burning each day, so on and so forth. And that's the sort of thing that makes it repeatable, so that you know you can keep the weight off forever. The math and science matters. All right, number 4. This is the reason why you want to do this. Track food like a budget. You're not as objective about yourself as what you think. I promise you, I am not objective about myself. That's why I use things to make sure that what I think I'm doing is actually what I'm doing. And that's why we want to track food. If you are in debt and you're putting yourself on a budget, you're going to, or maybe you don't want to put yourself on a budget. Let's just say this. If you're if you're trying to get yourself out of debt and you walk into Target or wherever, maybe you need a coat or a jacket, you need something like that. I don't know, whatever it is that you need. If you're trying to get yourself out of debt, the last thing that you would be doing is walking in there, not looking at the price tag for anything that you're buying, and just throwing it on the counter to pay for it, covering your eyes and swiping and just hoping that there's enough to fill in there, or hoping, if you're using a credit card, that you've got enough money to pay the bill. But yet that's what we do when it comes to food. We just kind of eat things, take it in, not really know if it's 2,000 calories or 1,100 or 400. We don't know if we need 3,000 calories to maintain our body weight, or 2,000 or 4,000. But yet here we are just doing all of these practices. It really is the same sense, or the same sense of going in to that store and doing the same thing and covering your eyes. It doesn't make sense to get yourself out of where you're at. So I hope that makes sense. This is why we track. And again, it doesn't have to be hard. Whenever 15, 16 years ago, my clients were writing everything down, bringing it to me into the gym. It was awful, but they did it because it helped them to start learning the process. And again, those clients that I taught that many years ago, they've kept the weight off because they learned. It's not about counting calories. It's about understanding, oh my gosh, that food is worth this. And I'm becoming a label reader and knowing what I think I'm taking in when I'm not paying attention, or whenever I'm stressed. Might be 1,300 calorie discrepancy. That's plenty to start causing somebody to gain 8 to 10 pounds in a month when you're not paying attention. That's why we want to make sure that you track food like a budget. All right, number 5 and 6, I'll go quick here. Number 5, slow burn rather than ballistic exercises, okay? So time under tension for the win here. I'm not talking about burpees and things like that. Those are meant to look ballistic and be explosive. Those are plyometric style movements. Those are fine. But when we're talking about curls, we're talking about push-ups, it does not behoove you to do those in a rapid method. So the whole pump and go thing like this, that is not helping you. It is going to cause some cramping. It most likely will lead to, well, at least in my case, whenever I do things like that, or if I do something that, irritates, you're going to get some adhesive tissue buildup where you're going to get knots in certain areas and it doesn't feel good. But the thing of it is that when you're controlling the repetition and you're eliminating momentum, which is an outside force, now you're going to be able to focus more on the muscle itself that you're trying to work. What does that mean for you? Number one, it means that you're going to have a sexier, more toned muscle. Number two, it means you're going to be burning more calories, which means more fat loss for the time that you're committing. So slow down the movement, feel it, and make sure that you're contracting. And for a bonus here, one thing you can do is close your eyes and really connect and determine if you're feeling the muscle like you think you should be. And it'll also help you to determine if you are contracting differently between the muscles. These are great techniques to really get in touch with yourself so that you're aware of what you're doing in the gym. And again, whether home gym, hotel, doesn't matter. But when you're in that gym, putting in effort, even if you're in your basement floor, like some of my clients do, on the carpet, that connection is going to be something that is going to lead to major stress relief. And it's going to lead to an amazing transformation if you stick it out. So, all right, very last one. Number 6, interval style, overtaking rest between every single exercise that you do. Okay, this is going to lead to what's known as a greater EPOC, EPOC, or afterburn effect, which this is where you actually burn a greater amount of calories than your usual workout. So not during the workout, yes, you're going to burn more because you're doing interval style, but the afterburn effect is going to lead to a greater amount of calories being burned after the workout. So I've read so many studies on this, and those all vary. And they all claim that they're that the study is accurate. And again, they all agree with one another other than the time. I've read 22 to 30 hours. So basically what it means is when you're using more of an interval style training where you are utilizing a muscle like, let's say your pecs and triceps and delts by doing your push-ups, and then rather than taking a break, sitting for 40 seconds and moving, getting warmed up again, you go, okay, well, I can't maybe use my pecs and my shoulders right now, but I can go to a bench over row. So you go bench over row, and this is an active rest. which causes you to continue to burn calories while you're resting the muscle that's exhausted. So that means you can go back to that muscle next, or you can go to a different muscle to do more of a circuit style. But either way, that interval style, where you're not just taking rest and you're compounding more of cardio movements with doing resistance style training, that is where you're going to burn the utmost calories. So I hope this has helped you guys. These are 6 of the most effective techniques and tools that I've used. Is it mindset? Is it going to help you to, to fix your habits of emotional eating? No, it's not going to do that. But it is going to start putting you on the right path so that when you're in the gym and when you're thinking about what you're doing for your fitness routine, you've at least got these as something of a guideline to focus on, to drive towards, to see if you're in alignment with it. So if you feel like this is something that helped you, be sure to comment below with #value and let me know if you have any questions on this too. Let me know also, what do you want me to cover